Hi, how are you? I hope you're all doing good and well and happy. This is Fatteh. Fatteh in Arabic means deconstructed or tiered. Anything that involves tiered bread is called Fatteh. It has to have bread and it has to be tiered or cut into small pieces. This is lamb Fatteh. This is the queen of all of the other fettahs that you might have heard of or had before. It's usually served in my country, in Sudan, in special occasions like weddings and these kind of things. But now we have an Eid coming, and for this Eid, we usually eat feta. It's eaten also in Egypt and in other countries. This is my take on the feta, and this is my version on how to make lamb feta. Let's see what we need. So, I have some lamb here. This is around the third or maybe around 400 grams, I would say, of lamb. I cut it into big pieces, not small pieces, because that is how it is actually served usually. I have some water boiling on the stove, and now for the aromatics, I'm using cardamom, cloves, cinnamon, bay leaf, and then I have also a tomato and a small onion or a shallot, whatever you have available. A lot of people have, many people have different recipes, of course. Different countries have different recipes. I'm making one that is different than my mom's. My mom's is different from my grandma's. So you might find different versions for feta. But I think this is what works for me, and I love the result. Okay, I waited for the water to boil before I added the lamb, and once it boiled again, I just removed all of the impurities that rise to the top. I didn't have a lot because the meat was really good. Then I added all of the aromatics and the tomato and the onion. Cover with the lid, let it simmer on a low heat for around an hour and a half to 2 hours, and check for the doneness of the meat after that. The meat should be soft. Now let's move to the sauce. This is the tomato sauce. On the stove, I added chopped onions, or just you can have grated onions as well, to a little bit of ghee, and now I'm adding the spices, a little bit of cumin, ground coriander, chili powder, and I also added any kind, you can add any kind of mixed spices like garam masala or ras al hanout or whatever you have available. I added a little bit of that as well. I added a little bit of ras al hanout. Now I added also some pepper, ground pepper, and here I just mushed together some garlic and green chilies in a mortar and pestle. Also added them to the pot. Now, after you mix a um, little bit of tomato paste is added, and then also we need to cook the tomato paste a little bit before we add the passata or any kind of tomato, I would say, puree that you have, like canned tomato, chopped, preferable, or you can just blend them a little bit before you add them, because it should be a smooth texture. That's why I prefer to use passata. Now I added a little bit of sugar and a little bit as well of salt, and we'll check for the salt later. Also cover with the lid, let it simmer on a low heat for around 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. We need to be a little bit thicker. I also added a little bit of water just to give it some time to like bubble together and the ingredients to marry. Okay, now we're making the rice. Also added a little bit of ghee, added the rice. This rice I washed and I drained from the water. Now I added as well some salt and some pepper. Now with the same measurement cup that I used to measure the rice, I'm adding some of the stock that came out with the meat. Like, remember, the first thing we made is the meat stock. So that's why, because we needed to make all of the other components. I added the meat stock, covered it, let it just cook. Take its time, just like any normal rice, from 12 to 15 minutes, and you're done. Now, bread, tiered bread. I have two types here, because usually any leftover bread, I just put it in the freezer. I cut them here into cubes. I have some sourdough and some pita bread. I added a little bit of salt, and now I'm adding a little bit of black pepper. Now I'm adding also some um, oil, and I'm gonna put them in the oven. A lot of people deep fry them or just fry them on the stove like shallow fry, but I honestly prefer the oven because it's just fast and easier, and it just gives me a little bit of space as well on the stove to finish whatever else. Okay, now we are going to fry the meat. Again, put a little bit of oil, a little, not a little bit, I would say a little bit too much of garlic. You really need to start with like preparing a lot of garlic for this dish, because it's like one of the main flavors. Now after you fry the garlic a little bit, you add the meat as well that is already cooked. We removed it from the stock, we separated it, let it dry a little bit, then adding it here. I added also some black pepper and salt, and I also added a little bit of ground coriander before I start mixing everything together, and adding a little bit of the tomato sauce that we also made. That's why you need to start with boiling your meat, making a stock, then make the tomato sauce, because these are like the two main components that the dish depend on. Now, the meat will go on the stove for like around 5 minutes only, and then you're done. Now, here we're going to make something to like for the bread, okay? Something for the bread to absorb. So, again, little bit of oil, a lot of garlic. Now, a little bit of vinegar, white vinegar. And you want to add the vinegar when the heat is on low. Do not add it on high at all. Now I added also a little bit of the tomato sauce that we prepared, and then the stock. Add around a cup to 2 cups of the stock, depends on how much bread you have there, because now we're going to, and then add salt, of course, and pepper. Salt and pepper. Also, second flavor. Pepper, especially the second flavor you're looking for in this dish. So, like, make a lot of garlic and ground lots of pepper if you don't have it already ground, um, or you don't have the grinder. Okay, now we're going to assemble. So, put the bread on the bottom of the dish. You want a big dish here. Now you're going to just pour that like liquid that we just prepared all over the bread. You want the bread to absorb as much as possible from this, and if you need more you can just add from the stock. Remember, your stock is already like salty and nice and flavorful and just meaty and all of what you're looking for. Second layer would be the rice. Also, the rice is done, again absorbed all of that stock and the lumpy taste and like everything that is so good about it. I love this rice. Okay, last layer we have is the lamb itself, for the meat that we just finished cooking, and you just want to add a little bit of swirls of the tomato sauce. You can add more, or people can serve themselves on the side from it. This dish, as long as it takes to prepare it, it's worth it. It's like really good. It's the best way you can have lamb. You can add obviously more meat if you want. You can cut down on the bread or cut down on the rice, but you need the 3 layers definitely. I hope you really like this recipe, and I hope you try it. And if you do, please let me know, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I'm going to see you guys next time. Thanks.